I held the small envelope in my hand as I stepped off the bus, whispering, "This is it. They'll finally see me." My breath fogged in the cold air, but I felt warm thinking about their faces when I told them about the trip. Months of saving, skipping lunches, extra shifts, none of it mattered compared to the idea of my parents smiling because of me. Aisha called as I walked toward the gate. "Arav, you're sounding nervous," she said. I laughed softly. "I just want them to feel proud for once," she replied. "They'll see you, Arav." "I know they will," I said. "I hope you're right, though." A small fear tugged at me. The door was slightly open, and I heard my mother's voice. "Rohan just understands us better," she said. My father added, "He feels like the real son we deserved." My chest tightened. I whispered, "Real son?" before stepping back to steady myself. For a moment, I thought about leaving, but Aisha's words replayed in my mind. I pushed the door gently and walked in like I hadn't heard anything. "I'm home," I said. My mother barely nodded. My father didn't look up. Rohan walked in from the balcony with a wide grin. "Guess who's here?" he shouted. My parents lit up instantly. My mother rushed to him. "Rohan, you came at the perfect time." My father added, Sit. Tell us everything." I stood near the wall, still holding the envelope inside my pocket. Rohan glanced at me. "Hey, Arav. Still quiet as always?" he said. I forced a smile. "Long day," I replied. My mother asked him, "Did you see the new project he's leading?" "Everyone praises him." My father nodded proudly. I tried to speak. "I have some news too," but my mother interrupted. "Later, Arav. Let Rohan finish." Rohan laughed. "Let him talk. He looks like he might explode." My father chuckled. "Your jokes always lighten the room." I swallowed the sting and said, "It's fine." Rohan turned to me. "So what's your news?" he asked casually. My hand brushed the envelope, but something inside me stopped. "Nothing important," I said. My father responded, "See? He always says things that go nowhere." My mother sighed. "Rohan, you should guide him sometimes." Rohan smirked. "I try, but he never listens." I felt heat rise in my face, but my voice stayed steady. "I listen more than you think," Rohan shrugged. "Maybe. But understanding is different." My mother suddenly asked him, "Will you stay for Christmas dinner?" "We planned everything around your visit," I whispered. "You did?" But no one reacted. Rohan replied, "Of course. Wouldn't miss it." My father said, "Good. It means a lot to us." I looked at the floor and said, "I'm here too." My mother responded, "Yes, Arav. We know," like it meant nothing. I stepped toward the hallway, needing air. Rohan called out, "Arav, don't be dramatic," I said. "I'm just tired." He laughed softly. "Always tired, bro," my mother added. "He's sensitive these days." I gripped the envelope inside my pocket, feeling the edges bend. "Maybe I shouldn't give it today," I whispered to myself. My father asked, "What did you say?" I quickly answered, "Nothing." Rohan continued talking excitedly about his plans, and my parents listened with faces. I watched them, waiting for the right moment to speak, but the moment never came. My mother said, "A home feels complete when you arrive." "Rohan," my father agreed, "you bring life here." I felt something inside me sink. I whispered. I tried, but the room drowned my voice. I sat at the dinner table, trying to breathe normally, while everyone talked around me. My mother kept smiling at Rohan, as if he carried the whole world on his shoulders. She said, "You always make us proud." He laughed and said, "It's nothing, really." I tried to speak. "I have something to share too." No one looked at me. My father lifted his glass and said, "Rohan, tell us more about your work." I whispered, "I got promoted today." My mother waved her hand. "Later, Arav. Let him finish." Tara leaned toward me and whispered, "They don't deserve you." Her voice shook something inside me. I asked, "Do I look pathetic?" She replied, "No. They just refuse to see you." I forced a smile, but it hurt. Rohan kept talking like he owned the entire room. My father said, "You think like a leader, Rohan," I said softly. "I led a team today." My mother poured more water for him and said, "You're our pride." I looked at my empty glass and stayed quiet. Tara nudged my elbow and said, "Why don't you say it louder?" I replied, "Why shout for people who don't care?" She whispered, "Because you still hope they'll hear you." I didn't answer. My mother asked Rohan, "Will you join us for Christmas morning?" He said, "Of course." She clapped happily. My father looked at him with shining eyes. I said, "I'll be here too." No one reacted. Tara whispered, "See?" I said, "Yeah, I see everything tonight." After dinner, I walked to the hallway, trying to breathe. Nani called me softly, "Arav, come here." I entered her room and she held my hand like she used to when I was a child. She asked, "Why are your eyes so tired?" I said, "Maybe I expect too much." She shook her head. "Beta, some families break their own children without noticing." My throat tightened. I whispered, "Why me?" She answered, "Because you love them too much." I sat beside her, trying not to cry. She stroked my hair and said, "You deserve gentleness." I replied, "Not here, apparently." She sighed. "Your heart is soft, but theirs has hardened." I said, "Then why am I still trying?" She answered, "Because you believe love can fix anything." I whispered, "Can it?" She said, "Only if both sides want it." Her words settled deep inside me. I told her, "I feel invisible." She whispered, "You're seen by those who matter." I hugged her gently before stepping out. As I reached the hallway, I heard voices again. Rohan said, "Don't worry. I'll take care of you both better than he ever could," my mother replied. "We know, Rohan. You've always been the dependable one," my father added. "Arav means well, but he's not like you." I felt the floor tilt. I whispered, "Better than I ever could." My chest tightened as I stood there unseen. Rohan continued, "I'm ready to handle everything. You won't need anyone else." Their silence felt like agreement. I stepped outside the house and leaned against the cold wall, trying to steady my breathing. I said to myself, "So this is it. They actually want him instead of me." The wind felt warmer than my own home. Tara followed me out and asked, "Are you okay?" I laughed bitterly. "Do I look okay?" She shook her head. "You don't deserve this," I replied. "Maybe I do. Maybe I failed somewhere." She grabbed my arm and said, "Stop blaming yourself. They're choosing convenience, not love," I whispered. "It still hurts." She answered, "I know." I looked at the dark sky and said, "I thought tonight would be different." Tara replied, "Different for them, maybe. Not for you." I nodded slowly. "I planned to tell them about the promotion." She asked, "Why didn't you?" I said, "Because they never listen." She sighed. "Then stop waiting for them to start." I closed my eyes and whispered, "I'm scared of losing them," she said. "You can't lose people who never held you." Her words cut deep. I whispered, "Then what am I to them now?" She answered, "Someone they never deserved." I let her words settle inside me. I woke up on Christmas morning telling myself, maybe today will be different, though my chest already knew the truth. I stepped into the hallway and heard my mother say, "Rohan will love the room. It suits him more." Nice. My heart jumped. I asked which room. She turned casually. "Yours," she said. "You can shift to the storage room for now." "For now?" "That room barely fits a chair," she answered. "It's temporary." "Don't make a scene," my father joined in. "Be practical, Arav. Rohan needs space." "He's staying longer," I whispered, "and I don't." He shrugged. "You're used to adjustments." Something inside me cracked. "Am I even your son anymore?" Silence fell for a moment before my mother said coldly, "Don't start drama on Christmas." I stepped back. "Drama? You gave my room away." Rohan walked in, stretching. "Morning, everyone. What's going on?" My mother said nothing important. "Arav is overreacting," I said. "Tell him what you told me," she snapped. "Stop ruining the mood." Rohan raised an eyebrow. "Relax, bro." "It's just a room," I said. "It was mine." He laughed. "You hardly use it anyway." Felt my breath shaking. My father said, "Arav, please don't spoil the day." I looked at all of them and said, "You already spoiled me." No one responded. My mother simply said, "Move your things before lunch." That was the final blow. I walked out of the house without a coat. The cold bit into my skin, but it felt warmer than the house I had left. I kept walking until I reached the closed cafe down the street. I sat on the curb and put my face in my hands. My thoughts kept echoing, just a room, just a room. But it wasn't the room. It was everything. After a few minutes, Aisha called. I didn't answer. She called again. I whispered, "Not now," but she kept calling until I picked up. She asked, "Where are you?" I said, "Outside." She asked, "Are you okay?" I laughed weakly. "No," she said, "stay there. I'm coming." 10 minutes later, she found me sitting alone. She knelt in front of me and touched my cheek. "Hey," she whispered. "What happened?" I said, "They gave my room to Rohan." She frowned. "What? Why?" I replied, "Because he deserves more, apparently." She shook her head. "They actually said that." I said, "They didn't need to. Their faces said enough." She pulled me into a hug. I whispered into her shoulder, "Why am I never enough for them?" She said softly, "Because they're broken, not you." I closed my eyes. "Then why does it feel like I'm the one who failed?" She replied, "Because you keep trying to earn love that should have been yours by default." I leaned back against the wall and said, "I thought today might be different." She held my hand. "You hoped?" "That doesn't make you weak." I asked, "Then what does it make me?" She said, "Human." I looked at the empty street and whispered, "I don't recognize myself anymore." She said, "Maybe this is the moment you stop seeing yourself through their eyes." I shook my head. "I don't know how," she answered. "Then let me help you." The wind blew harder, and I hugged my knees. "I feel replaced," I said. Aisha squeezed my hand. "They can't replace you. They can only lose you," I replied. "Maybe they already have." She looked at me firmly. "But you haven't lost yourself yet." "It hurts so much," she whispered. "I know. But pain tells you where the wound is." I said, "What am I supposed to do now?" She answered, "Stand up." "Not for them. For you." I didn't move, but something inside me shifted. A crack, maybe, or the start of a break. I stayed quiet, letting her words settle in the cold air. She whispered, "Say something." I said, "I'm trying to breathe." She nodded and replied, "Then breathe with me." I inhaled slowly, feeling a small spark inside me. "Do you think it will ever stop hurting?" I asked. She said, "Yes, when you choose yourself first." I heard her. I arrived at work feeling like my chest was full of stones. Karen looked at me and asked, "Bro, you sleep at all?" I said, "Not really." He nudged me. "Your eyes look like they fought a war," I muttered. "Maybe they did." I tried focusing on my tasks, but my hands shook. I mistyped numbers, lost files, and clicked the wrong tabs again and again. Karen whispered, "Dude, you okay?" I replied, "I'm fine, though I clearly WASN. Single quotes, taught out, Arav, my office." My stomach dropped. I entered quietly and said, "If this is about the reports, I'll fix them." He gestured to the chair. "Sit." I sat slowly. He folded his arms. "Tell me something. Who taught you to carry so much pain quietly?" I blinked, confused. "Sir." He said, "You think I don't see you drowning?" My throat tightened. "I'm just tired." He shook his head. "This isn't tired. This is someone fighting a battle alone." I whispered, "I don't know what you mean." He leaned forward. "Arav, you make yourself small even when no one is asking you to." My eyes burned. "I'm trying my best," he replied. "You're trying to survive, not live." I looked down. "I don't know how to do anything else," he sighed. "Then start by telling me what's hurting you." I stayed silent, fighting the pressure in my chest. Finally, I whispered, "My family doesn't see me." He nodded gently. "So you carry their blindness like it's your burden." Covered my face with my hands. My voice broke. "I don't know why it hurts this much," he said softly. "Because you expected love where there was none." That sentence shattered something inside me. I cried, quiet, shaking, embarrassed. He pushed a tissue box toward me. "You don't have to pretend here." I wiped my face. "Sorry, sir." He shook his head. "Never apologize for feeling," I whispered. "I feel empty," he replied. "Then stop pouring yourself into places that only drain you." I looked at him, stunned. "What am I supposed to do?" He said, "If your own roots rot, plant yourself somewhere new." His words hit me like lightning. I repeated, "Somewhere new." He nodded. Distance isn't betrayal. Sometimes it's survival. I left his office feeling strangely lighter. Karan immediately asked, "You fired?" I said no. He grinned. "Damn, I was ready to steal your chair." I rolled my eyes. "Idiot." He looked at me more seriously. "So what did Sethi say?" I replied, "He told me to take care of myself." Karan raised an eyebrow. "You self-care? That's rare." I laughed weakly. "Shut up." He slapped my shoulder. "I'm serious. You look like you're carrying a building on your back." I whispered, "Maybe I am." He sighed. "Listen, bro, you stay where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated." I looked at him. "You think I should step away from them?" He shrugged. "If being with them feels like walking barefoot on glass?" "Yeah." I inhaled slowly. "I don't know where to go," he said. "Start anywhere that isn't hurting you." I leaned against my chair and stared at the ceiling. "I think I need space," he nodded. "Good. Take it." I whispered, "It feels wrong." He replied, "What's wrong is staying where you're invisible." His words landed heavily inside me. As the day ended, I grabbed my bag. Karen asked, "You heading home?" I shook my head. "Not tonight," he grinned. "Finally choosing yourself?" I smiled faintly. "Trying to," he said. "About damn time." I stepped outside, breathing in the cold air, and whispered, "Somewhere new." I spent the next week focusing on myself. Every morning I told my reflection, "You owe them nothing." At work, Karan watched me meditate at my desk and said, "Bro, since when do you breathe like a monk?" I laughed. "Since I realize silence saves me," he grinned. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." My phone buzzed. It was Rohan. I hesitated before answering. "Yeah," he said. "Hey, quick question. How do you handle project reports?" I blinked. "You used to make fun of how I did them," he replied. "Yeah, but can you just explain?" I said, "Figure it out, Rohan." He sounded surprised. "Are you serious?" I said, "Very..." Then I hung up. Karen raised his eyebrows. "Damn, that was cold," I said. "That was boundary setting." He nodded proudly. Finally. Later, Tara messaged me. "He's slipping. Too proud, too careless. He's acting like he owns everyone." I replied, "Not my problem anymore." She sent back, "You sound different." I typed, "I feel different." That evening, my mother called. "Arav, the electricity bill came wrong. Do you know why?" I answered, "I don't live there right now." She paused. "Still, can you check it?" I replied, "Ask Rohan." She muttered, "He doesn't understand these things." I said, "He's the one you trust more. Let him handle it." "You're being rude," I answered. "I'm being honest." My father called minutes later. "Arav, talk to your mother properly." I said, "Talk to her yourself." He huffed. "This attitude isn't you," I whispered. "Maybe you never knew me." He fell silent before hanging up. At work the next day, Karan said, "Your phone's been buzzing non-stop." I checked it. Missed calls from home. I didn't return any. It felt strange, peaceful. That evening, I visited Nani. She smiled when she saw me. "You look lighter," she said. I replied, "I'm trying." She patted my hand. "Your absence is showing them your value." I asked, "How?" She said, "Because people who take you for granted only learn when you stop showing up." Exhaled deeply. "I'm not hurting them on purpose." She nodded. "I know. You're choosing yourself." "That's not revenge," I whispered, "but it feels powerful." She smiled softly. "Power isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just peace." While leaving her room, my phone rang again. "Rohan," I answered. "What now?" He said, "Bro, why didn't you tell me the tax documents were updated?" "Dad's yelling at me," I said. "Not my responsibility." He snapped. "You always handled this." I replied, "Exactly." He went quiet. Then he muttered, "Things are getting messy here," said, "Then fix them." He groaned. "It's not that simple." I answered, "It wasn't simple for me either, but I still did it." He whispered, "Why are you acting like this?" I said, "Because I finally can." I replied, "I will when I choose to." He raised his glass. "To choosing yourself," clinked mine with his, "to breathing again." As I walked home that night, my phone buzzed with another message from Tara. "He's panicking because you're not picking up the slack. Keep going." I smiled faintly. "I'm not doing anything," I whispered. "That's the point." For the first time in years, I felt something rising inside me, not anger, not sadness. Strength, real, quiet strength. I whispered into the night. "This is just the beginning." I reached the house to the sound of shouting. My father's voice roared from the living room. "What were you thinking, Rohan?" Rohan shouted back, "I didn't know the account would freeze." My mother saw me at the doorway and whispered, "Arav, thank God you came." Her eyes, once cold, were suddenly desperate. I stepped inside slowly. My father turned to me. He messed up everything. The bills, the insurance, the taxes, everything. Rohan snapped, "You never told me how complicated it was." My father yelled, "Because Arav always handled it." Rohan threw his arms up. "Exactly. You expected me to be him?" I said quietly. "What happened?" My mother rushed toward me. "The bank called. They said payments were missed." "Documents weren't updated," I asked. "Didn't you check anything yourselves?" She murmured, "We trusted Rohan." Nodded. "Right." Rohan glared at me. "Don't act innocent." "You could have helped," I said. "You said you didn't need me," he fired back. "I said that because you make everything look easy." I replied, "It wasn't easy. I just cared," my father paced. "I can't believe this mess," Rohan shouted. "I tried. I really tried." My father snapped. "Trying isn't enough." Rohan pointed at me. "Then why didn't you ask him to handle it? He always fixes everything." My mother whispered, "We didn't want to bother him." I laughed softly. "You didn't want to bother me? Or you didn't want to admit you needed me?" Silence fell. Rohan suddenly screamed, "You always expected me to fix everything. I'm not Arav." His voice cracked through the room like lightning. My mother gasped. My father froze. I just stared at him. He continued, "I can't do what he did. I can't be who he was to you." My father whispered, "What is that supposed to mean?" Rohan shouted, "You replaced him with me and then expected me to be exactly like him." My heart thudded painfully. I whispered, "So you knew?" Rohan looked away. "Of course I knew. Everyone knew. They treated me like the golden sun and treated you like a shadow they didn't need."
Oh,
My mother's voice trembled. "Rohan, that's not true," he cut her off. "Yes, it is. You never appreciated him. You just used him because he wouldn't say no." My mother lowered her face into her hands. My father sank onto the sofa. "How did we end up here?" I answered softly, "By choice." My mother looked at me, eyes glossy. "Arav, please help us fix this." My father nodded. "You understand these things better than anyone." I felt their desperation circling around me like smoke. Rohan whispered, "Just help them, please." I shook my head slowly. "No." They stared at me in disbelief. I said, "You made your choice. Now face it." My voice felt strangely calm. My mother whispered, "Arav, don't say that," I replied. "For years I held everything together. You never noticed. And now that it's falling apart, you want me back to clean it?" My father rubbed his face. "We were wrong," I said. "Yes, you were." My mother stepped closer. "We didn't realize I cut her off. You realized you just didn't care." Rohan looked down at the floor. "I never wanted to replace you," I replied. "Maybe, but you played the role well." He whispered, "Because they made me." My chest tightened, but I stayed steady. "This isn't about blame anymore. This is about consequences." my father whispered. You can save us. I shook my head. Not anymore. My mother began to cry softly. Arav, please, I said. I'm tired of saving everyone but myself, Rohan whispered. So this is karma? I answered, no. This is what happens when you break the person who held the house together. My mother reached for my arm, but I stepped back. I'm not your solution anymore, I said. I'm just the son you pushed away, my father said faintly. Arav, don't leave. I walked toward the door. You left me long before I walked out. I stepped outside. I whispered to myself, this time, they fall without me. I spent Christmas Eve with Aisha this year, and the quiet felt strange, but peaceful. She handed me a cup of hot chocolate and said, you're breathing easier tonight. I nodded. It feels like the first time my chest isn't carrying someone else's weight. She smiled softly. Then let's make this night about you. We walked through the small market, lights glowing above us. She pointed at a display. Pick something, laughed. For what? She said. For yourself. You've given enough to people who never gave back. I hesitated, then picked up a simple silver bracelet. This feels strange, I admitted. She replied, that's because you're used to forgetting yourself. I bought it and slipped it onto my wrist. My first gift to myself, I whispered. Aisha touched my arm. How does it feel? I said, like I'm finally choosing me. She whispered, good, you deserve to. We found a bench near the decorated tree. I stared at the lights and said, I finally understand something. She looked at me gently. Tell me. I breathed slowly. My worth never depended on their love. I kept begging for a door that was never meant to open. She smiled warmly. You came home to yourself, Arav. Her words sank into me like warmth after years of cold. I whispered I wasted so much time trying to earn a place in a house that never wanted me. She shook her head. No, you were trying to keep your family whole. That isn't weakness, I replied. It felt like weakness. She said it was love. I leaned back. I'm rebuilding now. My life, my direction, all of it. She asked, how does it feel to start over? I said, scary, but clean. She laughed softly. Clean is good. Later, at her apartment, she lit a small candle and said, make a wish. Close my eyes. I wish to never shrink for anyone again, she whispered. I'll remind you if you forget. It smiled. I know. We sat on the floor, talking about work, plans, and everything that didn't hurt. She said, you sound hopeful. I replied, for once I am. Before leaving, I looked at the bracelet again. This is small, I said, but it feels like a promise. Aisha asked, what promise? I answered that I will never abandon myself again. She stepped closer. Then that's the best Christmas you've ever had.
I nodded.
Yeah, it is. As I walked home, the night felt lighter, the air softer. I whispered, this year, I finally gave myself something real. And for the first time, the words didn't feel like a lie. I sat on a quiet bench near my building, letting the cold settle around me while the warmth inside me kept growing. Aisha called again and asked, made it home? I said almost. She replied, proud of you, I whispered. For choosing myself? She said, for finally seeing your own light. Her words followed me like a soft echo tonight too. I opened my apartment door and froze when I saw my parents standing there. My mother whispered, Arav, can we talk? My father added, we won't stay long. I stepped aside silently. They walked in slowly, like the walls might collapse around them. My mother looked at my small living room and said, you've made a nice place, I replied. It's peaceful. She nodded, eyes trembling. We haven't had peace in months. My father cleared his throat. Things fell apart after you left, I said softly. I know. They exchanged a look before my mother whispered, we're sorry. I kept my voice steady. For what exactly? She swallowed. For everything. For treating you like you didn't matter, my father added. We were blind, Arav, I answered. You chose to be. My mother stepped closer. We want you to come home. I shook my head. I'm not coming back. She whispered, "Please, we need you." I replied, "You needed me when it was convenient. Not now." My father sat down heavily. "We thought we were doing the right thing," he said, by replacing me. He looked away. "We didn't think we were replacing you," I replied, "but you did." Just then, Rohan entered quietly from the hallway. "Hey," he said awkwardly. I asked, "Why are you here?" He shrugged. "I wanted to say something." My parents looked at him nervously. Rohan took a breath. "I envied you." I stared at him. "What?" He nodded. "You never begged for attention. You just lived. And everyone leaned on you because you didn't complain," said that wasn't strength. "It was survival," he replied. "Still, I envied it." My mother whispered, "We know we failed you." I said, "Yes, you did." My father raised his eyes to mine. "Can we fix it?" I shook my head slowly. "No." The room felt painfully still. I said gently, "I forgive you, but I won't rebuild what you destroyed." My mother gasped softly. "Arav," I continued, "I spent years trying to be the son you wanted. Now I'm finally becoming the man I need to be." Rohan asked, "So that's it? You're done?" I answered, "No. I'm free." He lowered his gaze. "I wish I had your courage," I replied. "Courage isn't loud. Sometimes it's just walking away." My father whispered, "We'll always regret losing you," I said. "Maybe that regret will teach you how to treat the people who stay." My mother covered her mouth, crying silently. I opened the door. "You should go." They walked out slowly. My mother touched my arm one last time. "We love you, Arav," I replied. "Then you should have shown it when it mattered." They left without another word. The hallway felt wide, quiet, and mine. I closed the door, leaned against it, and let out a long breath. "This is it," I whispered. The ending I never thought I'd choose. It didn't feel like an ending at all. It felt like the first real beginning of my life. Walking away wasn't revenge. It was just as silent, powerful, complete.